You know, when I first walked in and the lights went on, most people thought, what's going to happen? Is he going to ask me a question? Is he likely to get me up there for a demonstration? This is what we call a negative defensive gesture. Now, most body language is so ingrained that most people can't unlearn it. Let me show you what I mean. Can I ask everybody to cross your arms? Now, 7 out of 10 Australians cross left over right. Have a look at yours. Now, so ingrained is body language, you know it's practically impossible for you to unlearn that gesture. Try now to cross your arms around the other way. See how you go. Most people can't even uncross them the other way. Now, the problem with this gesture... Now, can you please uncross your arms? Oh, good. The problem with this gesture is that the research shows that if I'm speaking with you and I cross my arms, that my receptiveness to what you're saying goes down by up to 40%. And that most of the statements that I will make to you will be negative. So does that mean then, the girl at the bus stop at the introduction who had her arms crossed, does that mean she was negative? What do you think? No, she was cold because she was standing in a cold situation. One of the biggest mistakes that people make with body language is to try and take one gesture and try and put a meaning on it. Now, body language is like any language. There's words, sentences, phrases, and punctuation. You've got to take a series of words to get a full understanding as to what each individual word means. And with body language, it's the same. We've got to take what we call clusters of gestures, so that when you see them happen, they'll come in such a predictable sequence that you'll get a feeling that the person may not be telling you the truth. For example, if you ask me a question, as I respond to your question, I begin to rub my nose. What do you think that could mean? Well, it could mean I'm telling lies. Anything else? Itchy nose. What else? I could be stalling for time, yes. Anything else? No, I haven't got a cold. No. If I had a cold, it would look like this under the wrist. What you said correctly is that one gesture can mean perhaps a dozen different things, just like one word can mean many different things. It could mean that I'm telling you a lie when it's put into a cluster. For example, if somebody's telling a lie, this is one of the gestures that they will use. Other gestures include, if I'm going to tell you a big lie, there's a good chance I'll rub my eye and look at the ground. For example, sounds like a great idea to me, John. You can certainly count on my support. Another gesture that I might use, if I'm telling you a lie and I suddenly think that you suspect that as you found me out, here's one of the gestures you'll see. For example, I posted that check on Thursday. So when it comes in a sequence, if you ask me how I felt about your presentation or what you're saying, and I said I think it's a great idea, I think you've done a terrific job and you've got a tremendous future, you may not believe me, is that right? Okay. The question that people ask a lot is, what is the origin of body language? Where does it come from? Well, it comes from a number of different sources. For example, we cross our arms because it's basic body protection. It protects our heart and lungs area. There are gestures such as this one here that we call the OK gesture. Now, this has its origin in an American presidential campaign in the 1820s. And OK was the initials of the candidate. And he started a trend that said you're OK with OK. Now, he didn't win, but that initial has stuck with us, and today in this country we use that for O. This gesture here means what to you? Yeah, that's OK, she's all right. It goes back to the days of the Roman gladiators. They'd be fighting in the ring. The winner would hold the sword over the head of the loser and look to the crowd for guidance. If the crowd did that, they meant hold the sword up, he's okay. And they spared him. Yet there's other gestures such as smiling, for example. Why do we smile? Now, smiling has its origin in fear. When two monkeys would meet, they would draw the lips back like that, each showing that the other was fearful of the other. Therefore, each was subordinate and non-threatening. Make sense? Now, modern man does the same thing. If I meet you, I will smile. So therefore, you'll interpret me as non-threatening and find me acceptable. What happens if I meet you and I don't smile? You're what? Suspicious? What about this gesture? Yes. That's a yes gesture. Is that used as yes throughout the world? No. No, it's not. Do you know what the origin of this is for yes? No, you don't. Its origin is in bowing. That is, if I'm subordinate to you, I will bow, correct? The more subordinate I am, the lower I will bow in relation to you. Hat tipping is another version of making myself smaller to be subordinate, and that's the origin, of course, of saluting. It's a symbolic hat tip. So, if I agree with you as we speak, My head makes this movement, correct? So it's a stunted bowing movement. Because it's a bowing movement, I'm subordinate to you. Because I'm subordinate to you, I will go along with whatever you want, so we use it as affirmation. What does this gesture mean? That's negative. This is the first gesture that every human being learns.